Shrek. In the past 20 years, there's one piece of intellectual property which has shaped our lives, our culture, our desires, our very dreams in an unprecedented way. One piece of film history which forever changed the face of art as we know it. Of course, I'm talking about Shrek.
Oh, you're expecting Prince Charming.
Seriously though, while Shrek is most typically associated with bizarro memes, ironic Uncanny Valley sex videos, and Smash Mouth, it's important to take a step back and look at the franchise as a whole. If you do, you'll find out that Shrek was actually pretty revolutionary. This is a series that changed our outlook on 3D animation as an art. Movies which cemented the legitimate staying power of animated franchises, a kids film that low-key named its villain Fuckwad, and the story that launched 1,000 memes. Love him or hate him, we owe Shrek a lot. From his humble origins as a children's book character, Shrek has become an icon of internet weirdness, the patron saint of irony, and a major economic force. And most importantly, changed the motion picture industry forever. Without Shrek, would we even have the MCU? Maybe, but also quite possibly not. Stick with me here. This is how Shrek became the most important animation franchise of all time. Cementing CGI animation as an art form with staying power. Like basically every new thing ever to be presented to the public, or Shrek having Donkey as a new friend, some fans railed against the aesthetic of the relatively new, fully 3D animation.
They judge me before they even know me.
Which is now considered synonymous with animated feature films. After decades of the hand-drawn 2D styles made ubiquitous by Disney films, the 3D CGI was a shock to some, and many doubted its ultimate staying power. Though Toy Story had been a massive hit, and Pixar was pioneering revolutionary filmmaking techniques, other studios hadn't fully embraced the potential power of 3D animation. And critics were still viewing cartoons as largely only appealing to children, and the parents they happened to drag along to theaters. But in 2001, Shrek dropped his green mojo all over America. The movie about the reluctant anti-hero who just wanted to be left alone was a hit, and with big box office numbers came something not often found alongside animated films: prestige. Roger Ebert gave it 4 out of 4 stars, saying, "This is not your average family cartoon." And if hyperbolic praise is a little more your speed, the Washington Post described it as all but unprecedented. Wow. Yes, scenes like Lord Farquaad checking up on his boner certainly were unprecedented. Critics loved that boner, and the movie around it, and so did the juries of the world's most preeminent film festivals. DreamWorks' first ever film, Shrek, premiered at the Cannes Film Festival as one of the films competing for the coveted Palme d'Or, the festival's highest honor. Though Shrek didn't take home the prize, it was the first animated film to be nominated for the honor since Disney's Peter Pan in 1953. And it was definitely the first movie at Cannes to feature Eddie Murphy as a talking fucking donkey. Shrek brought a cachet and prestige to animated films in another big historical way, by winning the first ever Oscar for Best Animated Feature. While Disney had been just about the only game in town for big movie animation with commercial success for years, new smaller studios like DreamWorks and Pixar had broadened the playing field until the Academy was forced to accept the truth us nerds have known for a long time. Animated films are legitimate art, and just like Shrek and Fiona's Love, they're here to stay. So they introduced a brand new award, and Shrek took home one of film's most coveted prizes, even beating Pixar's Monsters, Inc. So while Toy Story and Beauty and the Beast also had rave reviews, no one can ever take away the fact that Shrek was the first to win this Oscar. Overall, the series has been nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Not bad for the green guy from the swamp. Competing for the Palme d'Or and the Oscar are all well and good, but the prestige and commercial success of Shrek did something even more impactful. It showed studios that 3D animated features were very, very enticing to audiences, all of which led to Shrek being the spark which ignited the modern movie franchise. Before Shrek, animated movie sequels would usually go straight to home video. For example, in 1994, The Lion King had the biggest ever per theater earnings for any movie on its opening weekend. But the sequel, Simba's Pride, was just dumped straight to home video 4 years later. But the quality of storytelling and movie making of Shrek 2 demanded a theatrical release. Having an animated sequel as good as or better than the series' first installment was a relatively new concept, with Toy Story 2 being a rare exception. And of course, Toy Story didn't transition into an ongoing franchise until 2010's Toy Story 3. Just like Robin Hood, DreamWorks likes getting paid. While of course there'd been successful franchises before, they operated very differently than the multi-billion-dollar industries we now associate with media-spanning hit series. You'd usually have one installment in the series, maybe some merchandise to go along with it. Then the peasants wielding pitchforks-like fervor would die down, and the film would fade from people's minds until the next installment came along.
This is the part where you run away.
And none of these franchises had been fully animated before. Shrek changed that paradigm, and the franchise became a forward-moving machine instead of a movie series fans would return to every once in a while. 3 years after the release of Shrek, DreamWorks released Shrek 2, and the franchise was in full swing. Since the series' inception in 2001, there's been at least one new piece of Shrek media each year, including the wildly successful and adorable Puss in Boots spin-off. There have been 5 theatrical release films, 8 short films, 2 television holiday specials, 2 TV series, 1 Broadway musical, and around 30 video games. That's even more video games than Homer Simpson has. And there's a deluge of Shrek-themed soaps, snacks, apparel, toys, and other merchandise, including this genuinely disturbing Play-Doh Shrek 2 root canal playset. Ah! If you wanted, you could fully immerse yourself in a Shrekiverse 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I do want to. And no matter how much Shrek media comes out, there's still an audience for it. The short films and other media help to fuel the excitement and investment in the next installment in the series, which was always right around the corner, keeping fans coming back for more. Shrek was the most successful animated film franchise of all time, with the whole series grossing more than $3.5 billion, or as I'll call them from now on, Shrek Bucks. As producers and investors saw this massive success, aka the Shrekening, they quickly scrambled to replicate it. By pushing the boundaries of branded merchandise, and by making sure that if there was a first movie in a new potential series, there would almost certainly be a second, and a third, not entirely unlike Three Little Pigs. Pixar, a studio originally dedicated to the ideals of incredible original stories and breaking barriers in story and animation, saw the changing landscape and had to trade in doing rare sequels for being an all-out franchise machine. Cars franchise, anyone? Cinema goers today just expect any new movie to set itself up as a multi-film franchise that we can bask in for years to come. That green guy was all about making green, and soon other production companies were green with envy. Tony told me to write that in here. It's a terrible joke.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, good Lord.
But Shrek inspired future animated franchises in another way as well, through its story. Scenes like the Princess Fiona exploding bird gag made fun of the cartoons which had come before, and the gruff anti-hero surrounded by a plucky, wacky supporting cast became a template for the mega hits which followed in its wake. The other highest-grossing animated franchises of all time, Madagascar, Ice Age, and Despicable Me, all followed in Shrek's grumpy footsteps with their reluctant heroes and quirky array of a colorful supporting cast. But even more than the billions of dollars grossed, even more than the deluge of media and merch, Shrek has had far-reaching effects, and his story has important implications, demonstrated by the film's cultural impact. And no, I'm not just talking about memes. In fact, I'm not talking about memes at all. The Shrek franchise reached further than many animated films. It didn't just appeal to kids waiting for Shrek to get up to his funny antics. While there previously had been plenty of kids' movies with jokes peppered in for adults, Shrek made a concerted effort to be a franchise for kids and adults. After years of audiences being fed the same soft-serve fairy tales, Shrek turned those tales on their heads with unexpected scenes like my personal favorite, the Gingy torture scene.
You're a monster.
While there's a cute cat and bright colors to entice younger viewers, the movies are chock full of witty references that could only appear for grown audiences. From the alien chestburster reference, to Puss getting caught with catnip, to the Dulac theme song, and who can say that the classic Enchanted Mirror match game and Pinocchio's Mission Impossible aren't meant for adult appeal? The films gave us fantasy settings, dealing in very real ways with everyday tragedies and triumphs, and introduced us to pedestrian modern language and behavior from cartoon characters. Much like Shrek flipped the script on fairy tale expectations, it also boldly recalibrated expectations that something can be equally for kids and adults. And hey, If you still don't believe that this was meant to appeal to older audiences, the theme song I'm a Believer is a freaking Monkees song. What kid in the world is turning up to Shrek to hear the Monkees? I mean, even if it is a Smash Mouth cover. Smash Mouth! In my opinion, Shrek scored an important early victory for the body positivity movement. His character was pretty revolutionary as a focal point for someone who could revel in their differences, their uniqueness, all the things that they love about themselves but society had told them that they shouldn't. And by loving himself, he found someone else that loved him too. Fiona was willing to give up the restrictive life Disney had told us princesses were supposed to want, to change into a monster, and was happier for it. Name another animated movie from before Shrek brave enough to have an ending so unusual. I bet you can't. The success of the franchise can be attributed to more than its fantastic storytelling, lovable characters, and delightful animation. Unbeknownst to filmmakers, Shrek was released at a pivotal moment in American culture. Released in May 2001, it was the early days of the internet. It was the Wild West. Most people were still using dial-up, memes didn't exist, and if you watched Shrek at home cuddled up with your dragon or your donkey, it was probably on DVD. It's one of the last memorable films of a bygone era, when some could at least pretend that there was a sense of security, and our hopes for the future were a little bit less complicated. And as we all slowly grew up, we could still relate to the lovable Luddite from the swamp as we struggled to learn how to use our smartphones and shitpost on Reddit. In a world which went through tremendous upheaval, Shrek taught us that you can change without losing who you really are. He taught us that we're all multi-layered onion people. He was a dirty swamp ogre, and he liked himself. So we all looked at our dirty swamp selves and liked ourselves a little bit more too. Hey guys, if you like Dorkly, the best way to support us is to sign up for Dropout. For less than the cost of a deck of magic cards per month, you get access to some awesome stuff like Dorkly shows a whole week early, you can chat with us directly on the Discord, and some exclusive really cool shows like Dimension 20, love it, and Troopers, love it. Go to dropout.tv today for your free week trial, and I guess I'll see you on the Discord. Please be my friend.